I'm Pauline, currently working on the Inclusive Teaching and Assessment Practices project at Rmit. The project has been at Rmit now for a couple of years. It's a HEP-funded project and is aimed at trying to have more inclusive teaching practices across the board so that we can engage all our learners. One of the things I've been working on is a resource called the Model Activities for Inclusive Teaching, or as we know it, the Mait. And the Mate's all about giving teachers some examples of lessons that they could perhaps conduct to have a more inquiry-based learning approach to teaching. The project is creating a number of tools. One of those is the model activities. Another one is to help the teachers look at some of the stories that have been told here at RMIT, with teachers trying out new ideas and new practices this year. In this video, you can see Belinda talking about how she trialled a completely new approach. Belinda has a class that is very much made up of a lot of international students. They're very hesitant to speak out in class, and she's found in previous years a lot of trouble in getting them to really interact with the learning material.
I teach research skills and tools, and the course is about upgrading graduates in their writing skills, reporting, putting data together, and it's made up of about 90% of international students.
So when she spoke initially to me about doing this particular project, that was one of her real aims, was to try and get those students a bit more engaged.
So I've adopted the flipped classroom style teaching in my classes, and I've only really just started that this semester. I've set it up so that the students have things that they need to do before they come to the class. So I set them reading tasks. They have to watch a video, and they might have to do an activity sheet. So when they come to the class, they're all sort of set up and organised to do some learning and some engaging with each other and with me.
This inquiry-based learning technique, and what we've encouraged within it, is to use up-to-date information and up-to-date topics of interest. Belinda focused on Ebola, which is very topical at the moment.
I ran a video on the Ebola virus, and then after I showed the video, I showed the students how a journalist had presented a whole lot of data on the Ebola virus. And because the class was about data analysis, I showed the students, you know, what the possibilities that they could look at when they were preparing their data analysis.
Students were able to see how what they were studying was totally connected with global issues of concern.
They have to think a bit deeper about what they're doing, and you know, that created a whole lot of discussion within the students, and they're able to really relate to the examples or the stories that I've presented. So when they come to class, they seem to be more engaged, and they seem to enjoy the class more.
After watching a video, you really want students to get something from it, and you've got to come up with some good activities to ensure that that learning takes place.
For example, I ran a video on a robotic medical tool. I said to the students, imagine if I was your boss and I said to you, I haven't got time to watch this video, I want you to watch it, and I want you to tell me in one sentence what this video is about.
And she did that. She did a great job coming up with an activity where she got them to write one sentence, like a newspaper heading, that was going to explain what the video was about.
That was how I pitched that activity, and the students were just, they really enjoyed it. I mean, they worked in groups together, they came up with a sentence. You know, everybody's hand went up and they wanted to share their sentence with the class, although I was happy to just have one or two. I had to go around the whole class.
And the activity that she gave them was not only about just sort of focusing on the video and getting the content out of it. What it did was build on other graduate attributes that we want to develop. Things like summarising for medical journals, etc.
They got to hear other students' ideas in this activity, and the important thing was that they had to think about what that video was about in one sentence, and it's quite a difficult task, really.
Building on those communication skills, Belinda got them up out of their seats to share what they'd done, to share their sentences, to share their learning. And that's very powerful.
Rather than me standing up there for 2 hours and talking at the students, it's about presenting them with some information that they have to research or analyse, and then they get into groups and we talk about, and they talk with each other, then they share with the class.
An important thing in engaging all learners is reaching out to all those different, visual, auditory and kinesthetic learners. One thing Belinda does in that class is to get people up out of their seats.
It's about student-centred learning, and I'm the facilitator rather than me just standing up there and giving them all this information. I don't feel that that's the best way for the students to learn.
They're saying out loud what they've learned, they're sharing it with others, they're building their own communication skills, their presentation skills, and learning to connect with each other. And that gave Belinda the opportunity to give feedback in class, to talk about how they'd done.
And I feel that they are more engaged and they are getting a lot more out of my classes than perhaps they have in the past.
Feedback from the students has been that they feel safe. It was a safe environment to learn from each other and to learn to speak out in a group.
After a week or so, we were all on the same page and all the students were doing the pre-work. They wanted to feel empowered and they wanted to feel that they could contribute to the class, so they were coming along and they were well prepared.
Yes, they might have been a little hesitant at first, but gee, they got into it. They really got into the class, they were excited about it, they engaged with it. And so she really achieved the outcome that she wanted by flipping the classroom and using much more activity-based learning in the class.
At the start of semester, I set a tone with my students to say, well, this is what I'm doing and this is what I expect you to do. I expect you to read this, watch this, do this.
And she didn't know how it was going to go with the students, but she was prepared to give it a go because she felt that it was worth giving it a go.
Rather than, 2 or 3 students turning up to some sort of a lecture, everybody's coming to my classes, and there was a student a couple of weeks ago who missed one of my classes, and she came up to me the following week and said, "Oh, look, I'm really sorry I missed your class. I heard it was really fun, and I'm really enjoying, the sessions."
And not only the students, for her as well. She found the class engaging for her. She enjoyed it. It was fun. There was laughter. And seeing the students getting stuck into their learning was really exciting.
I feel more connected with my students. I feel more of a facilitator rather than somebody who just gets up there and talks at my students. So I think that it's the way to go. I've had other teaching staff approach me and to say, "Oh, what are you doing in your classes?"
It's been a wonderful experience for Belinda. She's come out of it really positive about the new style that she's going to now adopt in a range of other courses that she teaches.
If I can find something that is going to improve the way I present and engage my students, then that will inspire me to move on or move forward with something like that.
The great thing is her students have found that they've come out of this course feeling much more confident, more able to speak out, more able to ask questions, more able to interact with each other.
Well, I have a quote from Benjamin Franklin that I've felt really sums up what inquiry-based learning is. And the quote says, "Tell me and I forget, show me and I remember, involve me and I understand." And I think that sums up the topic very well.
Certainly taking the initiative to trial approaches like the flipped classroom or inquiry-based learning approaches can be a very positive experience for both you and your students.